just want to make sure I'm still recording. I am. It's the first time I'm using a Tascam instead of my lapel mic, so hopefully the audio doesn't sound wonky. Hello again, Internet. This is Olin from What I Am Listening To. We are back with another New Editions thingy. It is a cold Saturday morning. It is currently March 23rd, 2024. It's raining out there. It seems like every time I record a video, it's a rainy day. Normally, on weekends, I go for a run, but there is no way in hell I'm running in the rain. I can't do it. So instead, I am here to talk about a big, thick stack of new editions that I acquired recently. I sold a bunch of old CDs that I just wasn't listening to anymore and got a hefty amount of credit, and I used said credit to replace those CDs with some new stuff. Some stuff I'm very excited to own and share with you on this video. Let's waste no more time. Let's dive right in. So the first CD I have for you today, this is a Laraaji album, Essence and Universe. I mostly bought this because I never see any Laraaji CDs come into the store apart from Ambient 3. Like a lot of new age artists, he has a lot of albums and recordings under his belt, most of which are just random cassettes that he himself made limited quantities of and released himself. This is kind of a later one, 87 looks like. I usually like some of the earlier stuff, but I was listening to this in the back when it came in and I really enjoyed it. Plus I just like collecting new age and ambient albums these days, and this one just I had to get, so Laraaji, good stuff. Next up, I have a Hailu Mergia album. This has a title, an Ethiopian title I cannot pronounce, but this is one of his albums. I already have two of his other albums, one of which I believe I talked about in a video recently when I visited Berkeley. This is just another one of those cases where it came into the store and I didn't have it, and I like Hailu, so I just had to get it. We actually played this in store, and it just sounds as good as all the other stuff I've heard by him. But yeah, this is a good one. Honestly, anything he does is worth listening to, and if you find this in your record store, you too should get it. Next up, I have an electronica album. This is actually an interesting one because I don't know anything about this artist, but I mostly bought it because of my coworker and friend's recommendation sticker. He writes lush and hypnotic Latin house. And I gave it a listen before I bought it, and I actually ended up really enjoying it, which, duh, I own it now. In sort of a weird way, it kinda reminded me a little bit of Moby's album Play, just in the sense of it being really uplifting and pretty and, like Cass said on his recommendation sticker, lush and hypnotic. It's just pleasant music that I think anybody can enjoy. Even if the person listening doesn't like electronica music per se, I feel like they would enjoy this one. So shout out to Cass for recommending this album. It is really, really good, and I now recommend it for you to check out. Next up, I have a Nazia Hassan album. This is Disco Deewane. This is just another random album that I stumbled across and thought it was interesting when I saw the cover. But I also liked the fact that it had disco in the title. I've become kind of a sucker for disco, funk, and boogie albums, which might be evident with some of the things I'm going to be talking about later. But I especially like disco, funk, and boogie records that aren't made by by American artists. From what I know about her, she is actually pretty big in the Bollywood world, making a lot of music for various Bollywood films. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe she passed away prematurely, which is really unfortunate because a lot of the stuff that I've heard, apart from this album that she did, is really, really good. Considering I had credit, I just couldn't help myself. I had to get it. I had to further expand my disco, funk, and boogie CDs in my collection. This one's really, really cool. Again, I recommend checking it out if you've not heard of it before.
Oh, disco Deewane. नशीली है रात, हाथों में हाथ, नाचे सितारों के साथ.
Moving on to Japanese music, I have here a Sachiko Kanenobu CD. This is actually one that I didn't know anything about when I saw it initially, but I like Japanese music, and I love Light in the Attic, who put this out, and I just thought it's probably gonna be good. Initially, I thought it might just be late 70s, early 80s J-pop, but in fact, it's actually early 70s Japanese folk music. It has a similar vibe to contemporaries like Vashti Bunyan and Carole King. It's very wistful, it's very cozy, it's very soothing. But whatever you want to describe it as, it's really pretty, it's really nice, and again, it's stuff that I never get to see, so I just had to own it. Shout out to Light in the Attic for putting out stuff like this. They are doing great, great work, especially in the Japanese music department. They are bringing a lot of stuff that people are into now that you could only get in Japan to America. Staying on the topic of Japanese music, next up I have a Plastic CD. This is their album, Welcome Back. One of my coworkers put this on in the store, and I just absolutely fell in love with it. They essentially sound like the Japanese equivalent of the B-52s. It's pretty simplistic stuff. It's just a drum machine, keys, guitar, bass, and vocals, and it's just wonderful. Not to mention, it's just energetic and fun. You can tell that these guys were having a blast when they were recording it. Once I heard it in the store, I just snatched it immediately, and I was listening to it for several days in a row afterwards. If you're a fan of the B-52s, or even just new wave in general, check this one out. It is a lot of fun.
When you play some candles, all you need is flavor. This is the funny fairy tales.
Still on the topic of Japanese music, next up I have a Keiji Haino album. The cover, of course, is just pure black, which is pretty common for his stuff. This one is called I Said, This is the Son of Nihilism. I have definitely talked about Keiji's music in various other videos. He is just one of those guys that he has a lot of stuff in his discography, and anytime I find stuff of his that I don't have, I just get. This is a great one because it is a great mixture of his very chaotic, noisy, shredding, screechy guitar work with also some moments of soothing, gloomy sounding blues. This is only one song that I want to say is like 40 or 50 minutes long, but the whole entire track is a total trip to listen to. But I love Keiji, and like I said, I didn't have this one, so it's another one to add to my growing collection of Keiji's albums. I've said it before, but I'll say it again. Maybe at some point I will get everything that he has ever made. We'll see. That will be a lot of work and probably cost me a lot of money. But as long as they keep showing up here, I'll still get them. Still on the topic of Japanese music, next up I have a YMO CD, which is admittedly something I don't really know much about, but it's called CD Selection Sealed. I'm not entirely sure if this is a compilation of stuff from previous releases or if this is a collection of other stuff that was never released. I don't know. All I know is I saw YMO and I just had to get it. They are just another one of those artists where I collect their stuff if I don't already have it. I don't really have much else to say about YMO. They are famous, they're beautiful, they're fantastic, and this is a comp that I'm excited to explore. Okay, moving away from Japanese music onto something completely different. This is one I'm actually really excited about. This is a John Foxx and Harold Budd collection. I have probably talked about Harold Budd in the past. I absolutely love him. His works are just gorgeous. And this is one that I stumbled across and didn't know anything about. I know that John Foxx is mostly known for his sort of take on avant-garde new wave music. So I wasn't sure initially if this was gonna be like a weirdo mix of like beats with Harold Budd playing piano. But no, to my delight, it is just straight up an ambient album. There's a little bit of electronics thrown in here and there, but nothing that would make it kind of corny. It's just basically what you'd expect to hear from a Harold Budd album. And what's really great about this is a collection of 3 of their albums packaged in one. This includes Nighthawks, Translucence, and Drift music. Like I said, I love collecting ambient albums, and to me, this one was a total come up, so I'm very excited to own it and listen to it over and over again. Next up, I have this awesome box set here. This is yet another numero group collection. This is Purple Snow, Forecasting the Minneapolis Sound. What more can I say about numero group? They are awesome. This is just yet another thing that came through the store and I bought, partly because the vibes on this cover are really cool. These guys look like they're having a great time. But also, I just love their eccentric soul collections. I love everything they've put out. I couldn't resist getting a box set with this very nice book that talks about everybody that is involved with this compilation. And it's 2 discs worth of stuff, so it's a lot of content. But really though, I put this on at work one time and I just loved what I heard. So again, I have the credit, I just had to get it. Another one for my growing numero group collection. This is wonderful. You too should check this out if you haven't. Next up, I have some modern pop music. This is a band called Underscores, and this is their album Wallsocket. This is a band I don't really know a whole lot about, but I do really like this album. They have another album that kind of fell into that YouTube algorithm core that got pretty infamous because of that. But this one came into the store, and I was kind of surprised that it came out on CD. I feel like with newer independent bands, they usually don't put their stuff out on CD. It's either cassette and or vinyl. But I guess they're now signed to Mom and Pop Records, which explains how they got physical media, so that's really cool. But yeah, this is just a fun album. The production is great, the songs are great, and hopefully Mom and Pop will reissue the previous album because that needs a physical release.
When's the last time you saw someone with a ski mask and a gun? Dead on the inside. You gotta do it, gotta do it, gotta do it like me.
The last thing I have for you today, Internet, this is one I'm very excited to own. This is the new Andre 3000 album. This one caused quite a stir when it first came out digitally in early 2024. The joke with this album is it's all just electric flute music, which is a totally different sound compared to the stuff Andre did with Outkast. And while that's kind of true, there's still electric flute in this. This is actually a beautiful ambient new age spiritual jazz album. I'm not kidding when I say this. This to me is easily a highlight of 2024. And it might be because I'm already a fan of ambient and new age music, but I just loved this when I heard it. And I'm really happy that it got a CD release because initially I didn't think it would. It dropped digitally and he announced that there was going to be a vinyl release shortly thereafter. And it was supposed to come out late January, but it ended up getting pushed until late March because they were going to put it out on CD, and they figured, well, if we release the CD, we might as well release the vinyl and the CD together on the same day. So if you're a vinyl fan, probably a shame for you, but for guys like me who's a CD fan, I was able to be patient, and I was able to get a copy. This is wonderful. Very excited to own this, and again, it is probably one of my top favorite albums of 2024. Alrighty then, Internet, that does it for me. Thank you all so very much for sticking around and listening to me ramble on about CDs. If you like what you saw, then feel free to hit that subscribe button. It'll show me the support and I'll love your face for it. And you can also follow me on Instagram for even more music. I post a new album on there semi-frequently, talk a little bit about it, and it gives you a bit of an insight of what else is in my collection. Thanks so much for watching. This is Olin from What I'm Listening To, signing out. Goodbye.